And if everyone could please rise. And before I call on Commissioner Barkley to lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance, I would like to lead us with a moment of silence to remember Mr. Henry Lucier, the 91-year-old military veteran who we learned passed away a week after falling out of his wheelchair while riding a PSTA bus earlier in the month. We have nearly 600 employees of PSTA who work hard each day to ensure the safe travel of all of our customers. So this event was very, very unfortunate, and on behalf of PSTA, our thoughts are with his family. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Commissioner Barkley, please lead us with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll get started with public comment. I have one card for Vivian Peters. Ms. Peters, if you'd like to come up.
Okay, I was going to make my comment on challenging the PSTA's board to ride the bus for 1 week. And that means if you live more than a mile from a bus stop, you can take a taxi to that bus stop or ride your bike. We expect an 8-year-old child to walk up to 2 miles to go to school. That's the guidelines. If you live more than 2 miles, a bus. But this means Sunday through Saturday, church, grocery shopping, work, whatever you do. You don't have to do it until after spring break. I'll give you a break on that. But, and I think it would give you a better understanding, and I do know there are some members who have ridden the bus since they were on a yellow school bus. But go to work. Do everything by public transportation. And you might have a better understanding of what it is that a lot of people have to go through to go to work, to take their children wherever they have to do their grocery shopping, etc. As I said, I don't want to hear, well, I have to go to work. I have to be at such and such a time. Well, get up a half an hour earlier if you're going to ride the bus. I think it would be a very enlightening thing. Now, I'm going to make one other comment that I didn't know about the incident until I read it. A suggestion. In general, if possible, put wheelchairs not behind the driver, because if you have a driver and the crest of the road is very high, I frequently find myself grabbing onto something to hold on when they go around a corner, when they make a right-hand turn, especially if they've got pedal to the metal. And I realize that's not exactly a board decision, that's a safety decision. But there is a problem which is not PSTA's fault, it's a reality. It's the way the roads are built, so the water runs off. But it does make, it's very easy. I've had this thing almost tip over. It'll go over like that because the bus is making a right-hand turn, the road's high, and the bus driver is hot dogging it. So as I said. But the other thing I do really would like to see for 1 solid week, members of this board ride the bus for everything. You can ride your bike if it's more than a mile to the bus stop, or you can take a taxi cab. But if it's less than a mile, you walk to the bus stop, rain or sunshine. As I said, good luck with it, and it would give you a better idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Peters. And the next card is Joe Barfield. And the next speaker after that is Phil Compton.
First, I'd like to thank Ms. Peters. She has an outstanding idea. My thoughts were, how many of y'all rode the bus to this board meeting? Zero, I'm sure. I want to bring up the points of the transfer points in the Route 59 and Route 5. I doubt anything's been done about that. That seems to be the norm. Also, I'd like to ask that on your website, if you could put a layered scheme of your bus route, so you go Route 5 and then you can overlay Route 59 and see how close they come, so you can try to find your transfer points. The public information you put out, the map and the booklet, doesn't get it. Not for the average, well, doesn't get it. In general, I'd like to say that this St. Pete issue with Williams Park and the ramifications of that have, I think you guys have demonstrated lack of satisfactory leadership, and especially your CEO or whoever it is would be in charge on the staff side. It's a reasonably simple operation to get these points, a transfer point within a route. But why it hadn't been done, God only knows. I don't know if it's City Council's fault or your fault for getting rid of Williams Park. That could have been cleaned up with some police involvement. And again, just disappointed at their lack of interest, City Council's lack of interest. Chamber of Commerce, I have a feeling it's behind all this in St. Pete, but the way this board is made up from different communities, this St. Pete issue hadn't got a chance. And anyway, I just request you guys do something. Hopefully it'll be in the right direction. And I agree with Ms. Peters. Ride the bus. You'll find out what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barfield. And Mr. Barfield, if James Bradford and Heather Sobush are here, who can help answer some of your questions about Route 59 and Route 5. Phil Compton?
Good morning. Phil Compton, Sierra Club, 1990 Central Avenue. And as someone who works in St. Petersburg in downtown area, I'd like to thank you for the changes that have been made with Williams Park. It is really opening it up again to the community, as the business community would like to see, as a lot of people would like to see that happen. And so much so that I'll tell you that on Saturday, April 23rd, you're going to have another big event there. We had Locotopia there in February, and Saturday, April 23rd, the Chart 411 organization is putting together the Earth Day event. So once again, Williams Park is going to be the center of St. Petersburg. And a few months ago, you put together a LOTO grant request of USDOT. I don't think anything's happened with that yet. But the company that you selected, you would buy the buses from if you got the grant, Proterra, is going to be in Central Florida for Earth Day events that week. They're going to be at the Kennedy Space Center on Thursday and Friday, the 21st and 22nd. And they're going to be over at the Williams Park event on the 23rd. And they're going to use the 4th Street North lane, which still has the concrete buffer separating ongoing traffic that your buses used to use, as a place where the bus will be parked, and they'll be able to give people rides around the city. So the general public will experience what some of you have experienced already at the 4 different electric bus demos that you've had here in the last year, the quiet ride that only an electric bus can provide. And I also understand that they could be available to come back here for any board members and staff who haven't seen that bus before on the preceding Wednesday, which I think coincides with a couple of your committee meetings. So if you want to set that up, please let them know. But again, we look forward to seeing you all at Earth Day on April the 23rd at the place that you all know very well, Williams Park. Thank you.
Thank you. So seeing no more cards, we'll get started with our main agenda. Before we get underway, just a little bit of a reminder about time, that we do have a press conference that is planned for 11:15. at the end of this meeting, and I know we have at least a couple of board members who will be attending the Tiger Bay luncheon at 12. So just a friendly reminder, if we could keep our comments really focused out of courtesy to our colleagues who have an event to get to, and also so that we can be on time for our press conference. Thank you. So let's get started with our committee updates, and Elaine Mann with our Transit Riders Advisory Committee report. Good morning.
Good morning. Chairman Rice, Mr. Miller, esteemed board members, the Transit Riders Advisory Committee met on Tuesday, March 8th. We had no action items this month to bring to the board. The meeting opened with Mr. Miller and myself sharing highlights from the previous PSTA board meeting, along with encouragement for our track members to start attending this meeting as some of you guys attend our track meetings. Cassandra Borchers, Chief Development Officer, and Bonnie Epstein, PSTA Transit Planner, presented information on the Central Avenue BRT project. As the launch of a much larger program, the Central Avenue BRT will provide quick and direct service between downtown St. Pete and the beaches. Questions from the committee concerned the coordination of regular transit, the BRT, and the trolley. We were informed that the BRT will run on alternative routes to allow for regular services by the buses and the trolley. Services will intersect at major transit points for transference between the various services. The PSTA is studying the locally preferred endpoints for the BRT at the beaches, and will get back with us as they have more information. Assuming federal funding for this project, construction of the route is to begin in 2019. Next, Jeff Thompson, PSTA Transportation Manager, introduced bus operators Juanita Johnson, John Dixon, and Donnell Wilson to share with us a day in the life of our PSTA bus operator. This is something that the track has been asking for quite some time, and the presentation was fantastic. The drivers were all warmly welcomed. Our 370 drivers collectively travel 9 million miles per year, complete 45,000 trips per day on 40 bus routes at 5,000 plus stops throughout Pinellas County. That's just incredible. The level of commitment to the PSTA and service to our riders was extremely evident among our operators. Patience, camaraderie, and a commitment to delivering our riders safely and in the most courteous fashion possible is what clearly makes our bus operators the PSTA's outstanding, friendly first face of our system. To close out the meeting, Mr. Miller provided an update on the first mile, last mile connection to transit between the PSTA and alternative transportation services to facilitate underserviced areas. This landmark transit synchronization with discounted rates is receiving national recognition with adoption by other transportation agencies upcoming. The track appreciates the PSTA board and staff for allowing your riders a voice through our committee. We invite you to attend our next meeting on Tuesday, April 19th, or alternatively to view the ensuing video recording of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Great report. Thank you for all you do. So, okay, so our next report is from the MPO meeting with our Vice Chair, Julie Bajowski.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. A couple of things that we talked about at the MPO meeting. As you all know, we have worked with HART to apply for Tiger Grant, for the Tiger Grants for our Smart Card across many counties. And last year, the MPO applied for the same grant, so in essence was competing in our region for the same money. And this year, MPO has graciously decided to support us and HART in our endeavors, so we won't have competing interests. So we're excited about that. They are working on a spotlight series of town hall meetings around US 19, trying to get feedback from local businesses on what they want to see in all different areas of US 19. Anyone, of course, has the ability to attend. The dates are April 11th from 8 to 10 in the morning at the St. Pete College Clearwater campus, room ES 104, and 4 to 6 p.m. at the St. Pete College St. Petersburg campus in the DeSoto room, And then on May 16th for the Gateway area from 8 to 10 at the Pinellas Park Performing Arts Center. And May 3rd from 9 to 11 for beach access. So those are all times that anybody can come and give their feedback on US 19 issues of concern. Additionally, what I thought was really cool that we talked about was a number of forms of transportation, and they were all really kind of linked. The City of Clearwater brought forward a resolution in regards to the 2010 Transit Alternative Study, which had originally been from the St. Petersburg Times property in downtown Clearwater to the beach. And it's been expanded, or asked to expand, to be the study from the beach all the way to the airport. So we're going to be working on that. And then there was a lot of discussion about waterborne transportation, ferries, St. Pete's doing it. Clearwater has their own little version from downtown to the beach. And they would really like to see that smaller ferry go all the way up and down the coast. And so the discussion ensued about what's the MPO's role. I know that Brad and I talked about what's the PSTA's role in overseeing that, because is that really no different than the trolley as far as a transit? It's just a different form of transit. So the board asked staff to get in touch with the state P3 organization to get updated language and try to help us structure some public-private partnerships and look and create a framework for kind of a county-wide guide to local governments in doing this waterborne transportation. And then finally, the other thing we talked about was the fact of the downtown to beach park and ride type thing. And as you know, Clearwater Beach has gotten really, it's been for a long time very difficult to access. So it's about all the different forms of transportation that go out there. Well, Dunedin has its own parking issues, and how can we connect Dunedin and Clearwater and the beach and kind of that whole area and have different forms of transportation? So they're really looking at it, trying to look at all of this in a very holistic way, and all of these things I've just mentioned will have a significant impact on PSTA as an organization, because we'll be very involved. But it's all really good, exciting discussions, and I think that's about it.
Great. Thank you for that report. Next, we will have our legislative update, first from our legislative chair, Ben Diamond, and then after we hear from Ben, I'll ask Commissioner Long to summarize our recent federal trip to D.C.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to thank our committee members. We had a very good meeting this month. Our legislative committee currently consists of Commissioner Long, Commissioner Wheeler-Brown, Commissioner Beavis, Commissioner Johnson, and I especially want to thank our chair and Commissioner Long for taking the time out of your schedules to go to Washington to advocate for our federal issues, and look forward to hearing more about your successes up there. I'll just give a brief recap of where things wrapped up for PSTA with our state legislative work this session, and then turn it over to Commissioner Long. First, as the board remembers, we made the strategic decision with regard to the Clearwater Beach Express project to try to develop that project in the same manner that we had developed the Central Avenue BRT project in St. Petersburg. So instead of going through the route of trying to include operating money in the budget, we decided that we would try to go to FDOT, talk to FDOT, get their support, and bring the Pinellas delegation to FDOT to express the support of the community for that project. FDOT has made it clear that they're interested in supporting the project and enthusiastic about the project, but first would like to see the support of the Pinellas MPO and see the Pinellas MPO make it clear that that project is a priority for the Pinellas MPO. So our committee discussed that in some detail in our March meeting. We understand that Brad and Cassandra have had some positive initial discussions with the staff of the MPO and with Whit Blanton. And as the board knows, we're scheduled to have our joint meeting, our joint PSTA MPO board meeting in July, which will be a great opportunity for us, I think, to talk about the importance of this project and the importance of seeing the priorities of PSTA and the MPO be aligned going forward. And it's my understanding from Brad that the MPO will be making decisions about priorities beginning in August after that joint meeting. So that's sort of the track for that project. We also had a very good discussion about this issue of the allocation of transportation disadvantage funding in Florida, and Commissioner Johnson has been a real leader and passionate about this issue, and thank you for your work on this. PSTA was successful in the legislature this year with our idea of including funding in the budget of $200,000 for a study to analyze how the Commission for Transportation Disadvantage is allocating money between urban parts of the state like ours and rural parts of the state. Now the issues are going to be, how do we ensure that that study is done in a independent way so that we get a fresh look at this. And one of the things we discussed in our committee meeting was inviting the executive director of the Commission for Transportation Disadvantage from Tallahassee down to Pinellas County to meet with us to talk about that issue and talk, in some detail about how they're doing the allocation. So we're going to work on scheduling that follow-up meeting, hopefully in the near future. So just a couple other updates. We are planning for our next full board meeting to have our lobbying team from Tallahassee come to the meeting and give a direct report to the board on some of these issues, similar to what we did with the federal lobbyists last month, so that all board members have an opportunity to ask questions. And lastly, our committee had a good discussion about our lobbying contract in Tallahassee. That lobbying contract is set to expire. It was a 5-year contract. It's set to expire July 31st, I believe. So the Brad and the staff have been working on an RFP that's about to go out for a new contract. I understand we had some discussion about this in our committee meeting, that Brad is working with Alan Zimmett to make sure that there is a mechanism for board members to provide input on firms that decide to bid on that contract. I understand that a lot of board members may have worked with some of these firms before, and in that they perhaps lobby for local governments. So Brad is working to set up a process to do that, for board members to be able to provide reference, like sort of a reference form if you've worked with anybody who's submitted to bid on that contract. Overall, our goal is to have the legislative work continue to move forward in a timely way so that we're on track with an agenda early in the fall, ready for the legislative session again in Tallahassee. And that completes my report. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Long to talk about Washington, D.C. work.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah. Okay. Well, recently I had the very distinct pleasure of joining Brad and Chair Rice at the American Public Transportation Association legislative meeting in Washington, D.C. The APTA, as it is affectionately referenced, is the National Association of all the mass transit systems across the United States, and it was especially rewarding to see how well respected and appreciated our Brad Miller is in that organization. It's exciting to be able to report that wherever we went throughout the hotel and at the various meeting rooms, PSTA was the talk of the whole organization because we received so much national recognition for PSTA's pilot mobility partnership with Uber and Lyft in our Pinellas Park area and in Eastlake that started about a month ago. Soon, I understand, we're going to be adding Lyft to the program, and I think you might be interested in knowing that PSTA is the very first transit system in the United States to have such an innovative pilot program and partnership actually accomplished. The program not only benefits our Pinellas County citizens by increasing access to transportation options, it is also demonstrating true innovation by our administration, Brad and his group, and the PSTA organization to be leading the transit industry to test this new technology. Because of our pilot, while we were at the conference, Brad was invited to participate in a national press conference on Capitol Hill, where Uber and Lyft announced a new partnership with APTA and public transit. Brad was the only transit manager in the whole country to be invited to speak at the event because PSTA is the only one who's actually implemented a partnership thus far. So that was pretty exciting. We also had a pretty great meeting with leading staff from the Federal Transit Administration who expressed very positive thoughts about supporting our Central Avenue Bus Rapid Transit project. Finally, we had really informative meetings with Senator Nelson, Representative Gus Bilirakis, Representative Kathy Castor, and other representatives from our Tampa Bay delegation. Most importantly, for the first time ever, all of our meetings that we had there were held jointly with the leadership of HART. I think it had a profound impact on our congressional delegation to see both of our transit agencies working together to support a truly regional transportation solution. Everyone was supportive, as was our Pinellas County Commission yesterday when we enthusiastically supported the initiative to not have our own Tiger grant this year because we wanted to be able to jointly with HART submit a grant for our regional fare collection project to allow us to soon be able to use our phones to ride any transit from Citrus County to Sarasota seamlessly. That's the end of my report. Chair Rice.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. And I will just add briefly that the trip to D.C. was a big success, and like Commissioner Long said, it was really nice to see PSTA in the limelight for our pilot work with the transportation network companies. And also, again, just to underscore what was said, it really made a strong impact on our congressional and Senate leaders that we were there for the first time ever in meetings with HART. And it really showed how we're working together and that we're working cooperatively on important projects like the regional fare box application for the Tiger Grant, and to really get a strong sense of how we're all working together and moving forward. And I'll also note real quick that Cassandra Borchers is participating in a year-long APTA leadership class, which from the impression I get is extremely involved, very rigorous, hard to get into, and once participants finish with that, it's quite a nice thing to have as an accomplishment. And I believe, Brad, you're also a graduate of the APTA leadership program as well.
I am.
So just all around, great trip and good for PSTA. Did you have any
Couldn't agree
comments?
more. I just want to, like Commissioner Diamond did, express my gratitude to Commissioner Long and Chair Rice for joining me up there. It's just like Tallahassee, especially in Washington, D.C. It's so helpful and it really makes a great impact when board members are from the local governments are up there talking to our legislators you know. And it was great when we had the Uber press conference to have, like my mom here come and put the press conference on hold to take a picture of me up there. That was pretty neat.
Yes, I did that. Commissioner Long.
Yeah, Brad, minus all of what you just said, I'm curious about a piece of information I learned last week at T-BARTA. Is PSTA participating, or did I just miss a chapter where we're working with the Sarasota Transit Agency to do daily trips across the Sunshine Skyway back and forth?
Oh, yes. Yes, it's the Manatee County transit system. PSTA is working closely with them. They are converting a sort of demand response van that they've been running to the VA, which there is not a VA in Manatee, so they come up to Bay Pines for veterans. And they're starting a regularly scheduled 2 times a day bus trip over the Skyway Bridge for that. And we've actually been working with their staff to help plan and actually giving them some help on marketing it.
So is that something that we should be changing? You know how in our strategic planning we focus so much on messaging? Is that another opportunity to message a partnership?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Maybe we need to change our thought process, and it's not just art, it's the entire.
And the Regional Fair Collection project that we're thankful for the county support and MPO support for supporting our Tiger application is a very broad regional application that includes Sarasota, Manatee, up to Hernando and Citrus County. Really is including all those others. Those other transit systems are county departments and substantially smaller than PSTA or HART, and that's why really PSTA and HART are in the lead. But we're happy, and it helps us to be working together as a larger region. Exactly.
Okay, moving ahead to the consent agenda. If there are any questions, comments, additions to the minutes, or if there's any questions about items B, C, or D, now's the time to hear them. Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to...
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great. We'll move ahead to our action items, and we'll hear from Alan Zimmett and Brad Miller on our Largo Crossroads Agreement.
Okay, good morning, everyone. On page 20 of your packet is this action item to approve a settlement agreement with Walmart, KB Crossroads, which is the developer of the site, and Wells Fargo Bank. And I'll say a few remarks about what this is, have Alan fill in anything I missed, and then have our chair of our finance committee, who unanimously approved this, or recommended this to the board, Joe Barkley, say a few comments. At your places, and maybe we can put it up on the screen, is a little map of where this new transit center is going to be. It's basically at the intersection of East Bay and US 19 at the Walmart, relatively new Walmart that's there. And this has been a long time in coming. This site, the developer was required to build a transit center there. And so PSTA worked even back in 2012 and the city of Largo worked with the developer to design the project and have the site. And as some board members know, who have been here a while, know that PSTA has kind of become an expert on how thick concrete needs to be to support buses. Alan did a great job in working out a very strong agreement on how to build the roadway, which is shown in yellow on your map, that the buses will travel on, to make sure that that was sufficient, because PSTA in the agreement was on the hook for 85% of the replacement cost of that road when it fails after its useful life, which was expected to be 20 years. Well, when the construction was going along, the road, suffice to say, was not built to our standards. And this is agreed to by all parties. And so PSTA identified it immediately, and then that's what the dispute has been. That's why the transit center has not opened, is because the road was not built to the standards in our requirements, and the engineers have had a lot of debate about it. The Walmart has now been opened, and the transit center has not able to been opened until we reached an agreement. I want to thank Alan for steadfastly working with the attorneys on this project to get this to a resolution. Ultimately, the folks in Arkansas and with Walmart called me directly, and we reached an agreement on Walmart paying PSTA $250,000 right now, and in exchange for them paying that cash to us, we will be able to accept the road and move forward. Our engineers tell us that the $250,000 is enough for, should the road fail before 20 years, that'll be enough for us to replace it. We will take, if you approve this, we will take that funds and put it into a reserved account and basically keep it aside so that when the road does fail and we need to replace the road, we'll have that money. That's pretty much it. It'll be a fantastic facility for our riders. With this approval, we plan on opening the facility on May 1st, a month from now. And I wanted to just quickly highlight, we are going to celebrate opening it with great fanfare on the day after our April meeting, April 28th. That's a Thursday. We plan on having a ribbon cutting that you will all get an invite to, especially our great folks from Largo at 1 p.m. I think we're also going to be filming one of our world-famous videos there with some of our Largoans. That might be cool. And then on May 6th, after it opens on May 6th, we will have one of our rider town halls scheduled there. So that'll be to hopefully get the feedback from customers on how they're using it. But this replaces a transfer location, which is at Tri-City Plaza, which essentially is catty corner across US 19 from this Walmart site, and it's under redevelopment, but it's never been a very good location for two of our busiest routes, the Route 52, which goes down Roosevelt East Bay, and our Route 19 bus. A lot of transfer activities there. This will be much, much better for our customers. Alan, do you want to add anything to about the agreement?
Sure, and just a little history. PSTA used to have a facility at this site when it was the Bay Area Outlet Mall. Some of you may remember that. The developer came in and had taken down the mall and has gone through various plans for redevelopment of the mall, always with a new site for PSTA on part of the plan, with the city's backing and the Tampa Bay Area Regional Planning Council input. This has always been part of the plan to put PSTA back there. In addition to using Tri-City Plaza, PSTA has been out on the marginal road of US Highway 19, where buses have been stopping and people have been transferring, so this will be a much better location for the passengers. As far as the agreement goes, just add to what Brad said, what the in return for providing PSTA with the $250,000 payment, PSTA is agreeing that PSTA will cover the 10% that Walmart would be responsible for under the existing agreement for any replacement of concrete up to either the first of either 20 years or 35% of the concrete road being replaced. So Walmart's 10% responsibility will kick back in with either 35% of the bus roadway slabs needing to be replaced by PSTA or 20 years. So if, as their engineers are saying, the defects in the concrete will not cause the road to be replaced within 20 years, if they're correct, PSTA will have a windfall of $250,000. If our engineers are correct that some of the road will need to be replaced, we believe that the $250,000 per our engineers' report to us will be sufficient to cover the portion of the road that will need to be replaced within the next 20 years because of the concrete not being constructed in accordance with the design that our engineers had approved. So we believe that worst case will come out equal, best case we'll have $250,000 in the bank, plus Walmart's responsibility will come back into play in 20 years.
Thank you. Commissioner Barkley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Finance Committee, in our regular meeting, unanimously recommended approval of this settlement agreement and the mutual release between PSTA, Walmart, KB, Crossroads, and Wells Fargo. In October of 2012, PSTA, the City of Largo, and KB Crossroads entered into an agreement for the construction, operation, and maintenance of a bus transfer facility on the property being developed by KB Crossroads that is now occupied mostly by a Walmart and an apartment complex. I think everyone's familiar with that. The roadway was not constructed, as previously stated, in accordance with the design that PSTA engineers had approved, and with some of the defects identified that could cause portions of the roadway to fail sooner than expected. PSTA refused to accept the project in an as-is situation. This settlement will provide for $250,000 to be paid to PSTA by Walmart right now to be used to pay maintenance costs which may be caused by the defective construction. So in other words, we've got $250,000 growing, and Debbie and her crew will make sure that that money grows in a separate account and accumulates. As Alan said, if we're correct with our engineering, we'll have the money to make the necessary repairs at the appropriate time. If not, that money will be available for future use by PSTA after the period of time associated with the expected life expectancy of this piece of concrete. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Barkley, would you like to make the motion? To approve the settlement agreement and mutual release between PSTA, Walmart, KB Crossroads, and Wells Fargo?
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to make a motion to accept this agreement.
Second.
Any questions, discussion?
Can I just, can you, as part of the motion, authorize Mr. Miller to sign all documents necessary to...
And additionally, in that motion, we would like to authorize Mr. Miller to sign this agreement so we can proceed.
Sign all documents for the closing. The closing...
Sign all documents for the closing?
Or the closing on the transfer facility that will be conveyed to PSTA on Friday? It's not just a settlement agreement.
On the closing for the transfer agreement that Mr. Miller will be receiving on Friday.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Terrific. Oh, yeah. Do we need public comment?
Yes.
Okay. And we're also, would like to take public comment on that item if there's any. Ms. Peters, please come up to the podium.
I am looking forward with great anticipation to this finally being opened. I remember way back when it was Tri-City or not, whatever it was, before the old mall got torn down. And I frequently transfer from 52 to 19. So as I said, and hopefully we will not be involved in another concrete wars. But, you know, like we've had here. But as I said, I'm very glad it is finally getting settled. I congratulate Alan Zimmett for once again doing legal entanglements with involved with PSTA, and as I said, they need to find a better concrete maker. I'm going to call it concrete maker for this area. There just seems to be an awful lot of concrete problems. But once again, I think I'll even go over for the ribbon cutting. But it's going to be great because, we've been using Tri-City, and that's not been very well. So hopefully everything will occur. It won't rain that day. But once again, thanks for, pushed this through. I figured this was going to be another 20 years war. But once again, as I say, I'm really looking forward, and I know a lot of people that use Tri-City Transfer now will be delighted. If nothing else, they can kill some time at Walmart. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Peters. Any other public comment on the Largo Crossroads Agreement? Okay, thank you. So, more good news abounds. Our next action item and presentation from Mr. James Bradford, our PSTA COO, on our SEIU labor agreement. Oh, what a show of unity.
Holy moly.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Very, very pleased to be here, especially with this topic. So good morning to you, board members. Again, James Bradford, Chief Operating Officer. So the labor agreement, which I'm very pleased to present to you, can be found on pages 23 through 25 of your packet. I'm here to ask for your final approval of a 3-year labor agreement with PSTA's Florida Public Services Union, or SEIU. This item was brought before both the Finance and Planning Committees via a joint presentation on Wednesday, March 16th. The Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend approval of this new 3-year labor agreement. So to start to actually just let you know a little bit about it, on Monday, March 7th, PSTA's largest group of employees of nearly 500 bus operators, customer service representatives, and maintenance personnel voted 274 to 56 in favor of this agreement, which will carry PSTA through FY18. On page 25 of your packets, and I believe it will be displayed on the monitors as well, I'll briefly recap some of the salient points of this contract, and you can also, if you'd like, follow along with me on your handout. I am reminded also that you've been sent the full version of the new contract agreement, also along with any contract-related documents. You should have that possession. If you don't, we'll get those to you. So let's talk about the term. We're proud to be able to settle at the maximum term of 3 years that's allowable. And we're also proud to do so within PSTA's 3-year projected budget. It includes substantially increased pay for all positions under the top rate with reduced time to reach maximum pay. So it used to be if you were a new employee, there was a scale of how you would progress, and that was up to 60 months. So now we've reduced that by 6 months or 4.5 years. So that's a good thing as well. Also, we've increased the starting bus operator pay to $12.50. After the last year, it was an $11.80 range. Mr. Welch, and you had asked to the vast majority of the positions, and I apologize for not getting that information to you, of employees under $12.50. The vast majority of folks are over $12.50, with the exception of 4 out of the 10 classifications, which are brand new people that start under $12.50. We'll get you that information. Currently, there are less than 20 people out of nearly 480 employees that are under the $12.50 rate, but they'll soon be as soon as the increases go forward. There's an annual wage increases for the top steps of 2.5%, which will start effective this fiscal year, and it will continue. There will be an increase of 3% in FY17 to the top steps and a 3% increase to the top steps in FY18 as well. Additionally, as part of the contract settlement, We have, and we're proud to have worked on this together, have come up with a $300 to each collective bargaining employee. It's a stored balance, by which employees can use to draw down on their biweekly health contributions. So, for example, if I am a person and I am part of PSTA's health insurance program, each paycheck I see $11.10 towards my health contribution. Now there will be a stored balance of $300, so you won't see that come out of your check. It'll just draw down on the $300 until that's gone. And a lot of folks were very happy to do that. In addition, we're pleased to be one of probably the only agencies to offer lump sum compensation, so all employees are eligible to earn an additional $500 at the end of the fiscal year for attendance only. So if you have worked 2,000 hours more during the year, then you are eligible. That's great attendance. Majority of folks do. We do have some folks throughout the year that fall short of that number. One of the things, and we're also proud of, we have several committees that we've formed, and this is to further the union management relationship. One of the ones I'll point out to you is the Health and Wellness Committee, and that will be jointly staffed with both union members and PSTA staff, and we're going to look at our health, really. We're going to look at what can we do to raise awareness amongst all PSTA employees health-wise, and also to raise awareness for prevention tips. And that's a very costly item, as we see every year when we look for our insurance renewal. So making each other healthy, raising that awareness is going to be a good thing indeed. We all worked very hard on this, including you, and I appreciate your attention and listening to me go on and on for 30-plus minutes at the Planning and Finance Committee meeting, but also those of you who attended the closed session this past December to give us good guidance and direction on where you want us to go. We also heard SEIU's demand prior to negotiations starting at a prior board meeting last fall. We started negotiations on November 3rd. We held 11 productive sessions negotiating over 40 different proposals. This was a collaborative team effort on both sides, as you can see behind me, really trying to stand in unity, a very respectful tone throughout that I can say, in all honesty. Both sides work together to create culture change, to increase the trust. I thank Rick Smith for his guidance. He has years of experience in this arena, and so that really helped us all make this a much smoother process, so I thank him, and he's going to speak in just a moment and share his thoughts with you. I also must just thank my PSTA's negotiating team. None of us can do this alone. Henry Lukasik, our Director of Maintenance, Jeff Thompson, our Director of Transportation, Larry Longnecker, our Director of Human Resources, Debbie Leas, our CFO, Alan Zimmett, for his guidance on this as we sat through these sessions and worked on it. Behind the scenes, Nelson Dort, Mike Hansen, number crunching. I got to give a future thank you, though, to the payroll department who has to work through all this and figure all this out. So, pending, and hopefully if we get approval from you, they're going to have to go through all 480 positions, adjust the rates, the different various health costs. So I'll have to do something, Debbie, if you're listening, something nice for them, from me to them. So before I turn it over to Rick Smith, SEIU's Chief of Staff, for a few words, if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer what I can.
No,
Okay.
please continue.
Morning.
Good morning.
I guess I'll just go a little bit about what it means, maybe in a larger picture. One thing through all these years of negotiation I kind of realize is the interrelations in our society, in our world, and the need to see workers as not just kind of cogs in the machine, but as parents and neighbors and citizens. So in a collective bargaining agreement, what you get at the end not just impacts those workers at work, but in their lives. As James said, economically, we did well together. The bottom has been raised significantly, guaranteeing not only some degree of financial stability, but also the ability, we're going to have the ability to recruit new employees. And if you look at the workforce and see what that average age is, it's pretty high. There is going to be lots of people coming in. Raising that bottom is actually not only helps the worker, but it helps the agency, because we will need to recruit. We've accelerated the movement from the minimum to the maximum rates. And that rewards employees for their work, quickens the time to accomplish the standard of equal pay for equal work, and actually it begins to increase that loyalty, that sense of togetherness. It provides a real stake, some real skin in the game for the kind of collaboration that we need between workers and management in this modern economy. Both parties understood this, and we really worked towards that goal. Finally, on the economic side, raising the top end, and this is a big deal. It's literally ended an 8-year decline in living standards for those who are at the maximum rate. And everybody at PSTA now, once you get through that 5.5-year progression, you'll be at more than a living wage. That's a big deal, and particularly a big deal in this day and age where still vast amount of workers are struggling to stay even, let alone falling behind. Lots of congratulations to the board and to PSTA for that. As James said, none of this was easy. It involved a highly complex set of conditions and variables. The budget, the need for new equipment, the need for green technology for the agency, the balancing of wants and needs of everybody from y'all on the board to the CEO to the newest employed employee, and especially to the needs of the public for safe, efficient, and economical public transport. But we did it. We got it done, labor and management. Perhaps the biggest accomplishment was the establishment, as James said, of these labor management committees, kind of co-partners of the enterprise, which will take full advantage of employee skill and expertise on things like safety, scheduling, as well as establishing what we call a Quality Public Service Council, whose sole mission is to provide the best service possible for those who use public transportation in Pinellas County. So now, the big picture, the mechanic who lives in Largo has more economic security for his family and therefore contributes more to the community. The driver in Safety Harbor is now more focused on her passengers and interested in the success of the agency. And the customer service rep in St. Pete might be able to carve out some time to actively get involved in her neighborhood and community. We all win. We're not done with the challenges. As James said, the next we're going to be tackling, I think, in a big way together is containing insurance costs, retaining benefits, but we can get there. And we don't do this by sitting around the campfire singing Kumbaya. It's by identifying problems jointly and doing our best to deal with them and solve them. It's kind of an idealistic pragmatism that I think that we share with the board, actually. I think that's the way that you all operate, and that's what made this so remarkable in my eyes. We share that idealistic pragmatism. I'm looking forward to meeting the challenges of the future in that exact same way. So I want to thank you. I hope you pass this. I want to particularly thank April and Marcus here, number guy, and April for their leadership on this, and the whole team, everybody. Like I said, looking forward to continuing the same kind of work in collaboration for the challenges we will meet in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. All right, thank you so much. I know, I feel like applauding. Comments from our board members and our chairs of the Planning or Finance Committee. Commissioner Barkley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With regard to the SEIU labor agreement, the Joint Finance and Planning Committees heard this presentation. They unanimously recommended it. The labor agreement with the SIU, as has been stated, expired in September 30th of last year and was settled with overwhelming support for the new contract, 274 votes in favor to 56 opposed. The agreement covers nearly 500 collective bargaining employees, including bus operators, maintenance personnel, and customer service representatives. The 3-year agreement was settled within the 3-year budget. It provides for increased pay rates for all positions under the top rate with reduced time to reach maximum pay level. It provides for a starting bus operator rate of $12.50 an hour, and it provides for annual wage increases for the top steps of 2.5%, 3%, and 3% in fiscal years 16, 17, and 18, plus, as James outlined, a 3-year one-time stored balance for health insurance contributions and a $500 annual lump sum compensation based on attendance criteria. Congratulations to all of the folks who participated in this, Rick Smith, James Bradford, and all the union members who were involved. The Finance Committee recommends approval of this agreement, and we hope that this will be a trend towards the future with not only better negotiations, but also increased benefits for our employees.
Thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner Welch.
Madam Chair, I would just echo Chair Barkley's comments. The Planning Committee sat in a joint session and had a very good discussion of this. The collaborative spirit is really what stands out when you observe this process. I want to give kudos to everyone. James, we weren't bored at all by your 30 minutes. And you had a great team of folks from labor and from PSTA working with you on it. So it's just a very good outcome. The one issue I would want to raise personally, again, is the living wage issue. And Rick mentioned that most of our employees will have a living wage. Are we still talking about $12.50 as a living wage, Rick, in your mind? I don't know if he's still here. Are we still talking $12.50 as a living wage generally? I know California is looking at $15.
No, we actually did better. So at the end of the progression, everyone will be to 50.
Okay, so
$12.50 very close to it. So I mean, really, it's
more than that.
Yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
So my question would be, if this locks us in through FY18. Yes. Is there anything in this agreement that prevents us in the interim from getting everyone up to at least $12.50? Does this prevent us from doing that?
No, I believe once these rates go into effect, with the exception of new hire folks, everyone will be quickly at $12.50. The other 4 classifications that I mentioned, they are locked in, starting around $11.50, and yes, that would take place at the next negotiations, unless for whatever reasons we re-examine it and both sides agree to kind of take a look at it and open up the discussion again.
Okay, so we couldn't get those other 20 folks up to $12.50 under this agreement? Correct. Okay.
Correct. The 20 folks currently, they're either new people, they're trainees, and I think once the new rates take effect, I believe to take care of a lot of those folks. But you're still going to have the 4 of the 10 classifications, like customer service rep, service attendants, that when they start, if they're a brand new employee, they may start at $11.50. But then they'll be over after their first year.
Well, I fully support this. Y'all did an excellent job on it. But, Madam Chair, I'm a short timer now. I've only got 6 months left. So I won't be here in the future. But as an aspirational goal, I hope we get to having everyone that works at PSTA start at least at $12.50. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
Great. Vice Chair Chowski.
I just want to echo what Commissioner Welch just said. I think that's really important. I know we're pushing for that in the city. I know you guys have been pushing for it. People need to be able to function and eat and not have to give one life necessity up for another one. And just because our federal government can't meet the times doesn't mean that we shouldn't. So I'm very supportive of that and very supportive of the agreement.
Thank you.
And I'll pile on real briefly here. James, thank you, because this kind of success really shows not just your management acumen, but it shows leadership too. And we know that it's taken a lot of work and these relationships and partnerships are so important, and it shows a lot of brokering, negotiation, and maintenance of these relationships. I'm sure it wasn't always easy, but thank you for being our MVP on this, you and your team. And also a big thank you to Rick Smith of SEIU. When we have strong unions, we have responsible unions, and you played such a constructive role, and it shows that we're all on the same team, join to make this, help fulfill the mission of PSTA to provide a high-quality service, provide the best value to our taxpayers, but do it in a way that we also provide meaningful, fulfilling jobs to our employees that they feel good about and they feel positive about the outlook of their employment as well. So, thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Mayor.
Great. So, I believe I heard
I did
a motion
make a motion
from
previously
Commissioner
for
Barkley.
approval.
Do we need to rephrase the motion, Ellen? Or add more details to?
No.
Okay. So do we hear a second? Second. Great. Oh, wait, before I vote, any public comment? Any public comment on approving the SEIU labor agreement? Okay, no one's coming forward. So without any further comments from the board, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Fantastic.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Madam Chair, I am grateful for all of the employees who have come, and we hope that you will all stay right at the end of this meeting, because we're going to kind of repeat what we just did together out in the lobby, as you saw. So that'll be a great event. Thank you.
All right. So moving to our next action item on the CEO performance evaluation. The PSTA Personnel Committee met on Friday, March 11th, 2016. The committee consists of Vice Chair Bujalski, Commissioner Janet Long, Commissioner Barkley, Commissioner Pat Gerard, and myself. I would like to thank members who took the time to fill out the evaluation form and provide some very thoughtful, substantial feedback. Also, thank you for the feedback and advice along the way as we made improvements to the evaluation process and the form as well. So the Personnel Committee was pleased to see the recent successes at PSTA recognized and reflected in the CEO review process. And we saw significant across-the-board increases in the evaluation scores for our CEO. So in short, Mr. Miller enjoyed a more than 20% improvement in his comprehensive scoring from our 15 board members, which is a pretty marked increase and a great accomplishment. Specifically, some of the things that were noted, recent customer satisfaction results that are more than double the national average. PSTA has received national recognition for Brad Miller's innovation with our pilot project with Uber, Lyft, and the taxis, being the first transit agency system in the U.S. to successfully partner with TNCs and for a first mile, last mile transportation option. We have also, as we just heard, seen overwhelming endorsement of a multi-year collective bargaining agreement that we just approved for our employees. And finally, for our focus on delivering value to the taxpayers of Pinellas County. So in recognition of this improvement, the Personnel Committee unanimously recommended the following actions. Number one, we recommended that Mr. Miller's compensation be adjusted by 2.5%, which is consistent with the fiscal year 2016 budget, and the same adjustment most union employees will be receiving as a result of the new contract. I will note that this is only the second adjustment that Brad has received in the past 5 years of his employment with PSTA. Prior to this, he received a single 1% compensation adjustment that happened 3 years ago. Our second recommendation is that Mr. Miller's next board-completed performance evaluation will be completed in 12 months in March of 2017. So this gets us back to a normal cycle of the performance evaluation schedule. Lastly, our third recommendation is that in 6 months, so at the halfway mark, Mr. Miller will prepare a summary scorecard of the progress on PSTA's Path Forward strategic plan. We're going to look again at the goals and the areas of note. as you all recall, by looking at the results that we got from the evaluation, I mean, clearly above average. Brad got above 3, which exceeds expectations. There were a few 5s. There were a couple of 2s. So Brad's going to come back and check with individual board members on those items where he received a 2, and we'll be communicating one-on-one with those board members. That will come back to the Personnel Committee, and we'll hear a report as a whole. And there will be an opportunity to respond to that feedback, but that will not be a formal evaluation. The formal evaluation will take place a year from now. And that's the report. Any comments, questions? We have a little bit of time. We're doing a lot of time here. Commissioner Johnson.
Well, as your past chair, we spent a lot of time in the last really 18 months, or probably closer to 20 months, working this process. And I would note that I am most satisfied with the progress that we have made on the progress. Last year, or 18 months ago, we realized that our process was not as refined and as targeted on the goals that we as a board had set in our path forward. And so we learned from that. With partnership of our CEO, we refined that, and that is the result. One of the things that we had done in the past is we had some arbitrary numbers, 1 to 5, and we realized that not all of us understood or were consistent on what those numbers meant. So I would just point out that personally, my number actually went down a little bit because I was actually using different expectations for what those numbers meant. So I think we're on a good progress. We have a wonderful performance from our CEO, and it gives me pleasure to move approval of the Personnel Committee's recommendation.
Second.
Thank you. Other comments?
I'll second the recommendation from the board, from the committee.
Thank you.
I would
Commissioner Welch.
echo those comments. The comments listed by all the board members really cover Brad's improvement over the last 6 months, but I just want to focus on the board communication issue because that was something that I spoke about previously. I think they've done a great job, Brad and his team, in keeping us updated. I think the Friday updates, I think Commissioner Lisa Willer-Brown was in the first, one of the first YouTube video updates. Those are great.
Yeah.
So just keep up the board communication. None of us like surprises.
Mm-hmm.
And what do we have, 15 people up here?
Yeah.
I know it's tough keeping us all updated, but you've done a great job in doing that. And I'm happy to support the recommendation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Well, terrific work. Let's go to public comment. Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to make a comment on this item before we take a final vote? Okay, seeing none. All in favor of the 3 recommendations from the Personnel Committee for our CEO, Brad Miller, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, we have a motion.
Okay, I missed that. Sorry.
Any opposed? Great. Congratulations, Brad. Would you like to take a minute to comment?
Yes. I would.
Victory lap?
No, thank you very, very much, members of the board. I am obviously very honored and humbled and appreciative. And I think what I'd just like to say and express my incredible gratitude, and I hope they already know this, I really do, but as Commissioner Johnson described, now that we have this evaluation format that's tied to the organization's strategic plan goals, this positive evaluation is really a reflection on the whole organization, on all of PSTA's work. As I think James said, none of us do anything alone, and this positive result is due to the staff and my team, all the way down to operators, customer service reps, and everything. And So to have the board together on this is what the theme of the morning is, with our employees and our leadership aligned. It's really, really great. I think it helps our morale throughout the organization, not just in the CEO chair. So thank you guys very, very much.
Thank you, Brad. So we'll move ahead to our reports and correspondence, and would you like to lead us off in
Sure.
discussion of key budget assumptions?
So in your packet, starting on page 29, are a couple of presentations that were made to the Planning Committee. We have kicked off our next year, or fiscal year 17 budget planning, like probably most of your cities and the county have done as well. And in your packet, or perhaps it was a link in your packet, is a nice summary document of all the assumptions, key assumptions that we're embedding into the budget planning process. The preliminary numbers we get on property valuations from the county property appraiser, and then forecasts out into the future. So I think Commissioner Welch suggested this about maybe more than a year ago, that the county had started doing this, and it's a really good sort of starting point. Over the next couple of months, the Planning Committee will start looking in more detail at our major items in the budget. Our personnel issue obviously is heavily influenced by the labor agreement, and other service initiatives. So they'll be seeing that, and then the full board will be getting its presentation of the draft budget in June. And then the millage decision is in July, with then hearings and the final approval up in September. The second item in your packet on page 42 is a presentation that we made to the Planning Committee about our PSTA's single largest contract we have, which is for our DART paratransit service. And this was sort of a heads up that we gave to the Planning Committee, and I'll get to you, that a couple of our members who have been here for a while know that not only is this our largest contract in terms of dollar amount, but it is probably the most important contract to many of our riders who rely heavily on DART. DART is a service that we provide for people with disabilities who cannot ride the regular bus. And we contract that right now out to Care Ride and Yellow Cab, and the folks that ride that, some 1,000 people a day, need that transportation to get to where they need to go. So 5 years ago, when this was up for rebid, the room was packed with citizens concerned, just as we are. We have some really innovative ideas that are in the presentation on ways to provide improved customer service with this, and we're going to take advantage of this newfound partnership we have with these new technologies of Uber and Lyft and taxis to provide the best customer service we possibly can to the most number of people. So I think that's all in there, but stay tuned. This is going to go out to bid, I think perhaps even next week, and then come back to you at your July meeting for award. So that's kind of like a heads up on that. Last, I will just update another very exciting event we had back on March 12th was a joint bus rodeo. That's ROADEO with our friends over at Hart. We had like a showdown, and I knew our team would come out victorious, although we really crowned winners from both Hart and PSTA, because I will be going to Fort Myers tomorrow to participate in the statewide rodeo, and we wanted to have two people from the Tampa Bay, two winners from both Hart and PSTA, to be able to go. And for the first time in 25 years, PSTA will be sending a maintenance team to the state rodeo. Maintenance team is a group of our mechanics that won at the local rodeo that have to diagnose kind of like a MacGyver contest of problems in a bus engine in a certain amount of time. I heard that I am the chair of the statewide transit association right now, so I get the honor of kicking off this great competition that has 31 transit systems from across the state participating and a record 11 maintenance teams. So it's going to be kind of a challenge for us. But that concludes my report. I'll be glad to answer any questions on those or anything else that's going on at PSTA.
Any questions for Brad?
I have a quick question on the DART contract. Are we preserving the option to choose more than one provider?
Yes. Yes, like we did before, but even we're looking at maybe even expanding that option to award the contract to more than one, or it really is whatever is in the best interests of PSTA, and we'll bring a recommendation. The bidders can bid on, there's different components to the service. They can bid on all or one, and we'll just have to see how the bids come in, but it's very likely that we will award to more than one company.
Okay, and that recommendation comes in July, and we'll see another presentation before the full board before we take that vote?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I got a question.
Yes,
I'm
Commissioner.
trying to remember, I thought I saw somewhere the number of care ride transportations that were done versus the number of yellow cab. What, do you remember, or what is that? Is care ride is how many and yellow cab was how many people?
So I think there's a graph in your presentation that shows roughly 1,000 people a day in total ride our two DART services, and the care ride proportion of that 1,000 has been growing steadily, and now is right around 50-50. So about 500 on the yellow cab transportation. That means that they are ambulatory and they do not require a wheelchair, and they go in taxi cabs, and then about 500 a day on care ride.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Brad. Future meeting subjects.
So next month, you will be, the key focus of the agenda will be a presentation that I think will be responding to some of the comments I received in my performance evaluation, which were perfectly natural, on succession planning, because you hadn't seen our awesome presentation. So you will change your scores all to 5, I'm sure, once we get that presentation. Just kidding. But I'm really excited about the comprehensive work we've done on throughout our organization to develop a good succession plan, so you'll see that. We're also getting ready to award, and you'll have this on your agenda, our communications contract with a new marketing firm. So that's coming up. On May 6th, we have a workshop scheduled for PSTA. That's one of 2 workshops that your executive committee and we are planning this year, just of the PSTA board. Although we are certainly, and you'll see some folks from the MPO and other groups at our workshop. In addition to those 2 PSTA workshops, of course, we have the joint meeting that Commissioner Diamond mentioned, scheduled with the Pinellas MPO board in July. And we are still waiting to see and schedule a possible joint meeting this summer with the board at Hart, probably in response to some of the comments we received from Senator Latvala during the legislative session about his goal of working closer together. But that hasn't been scheduled. So I put those, I just wanted to highlight those items, and then the other committee meetings you can see on the list.
Thank you. Any other items? Any other business items? Yes, Commissioner Long.
Yes, Commissioner, you may remember at our last executive committee meeting, we had the folks from CNG there, and I believe that they were referred to finance or planning.
Yes.
And I wanted to find out from Commissioner Barkley, are you planning on having them?
Yes, I believe, I don't know when they're scheduled, but we are planning to do that.
Okay, good, because I think that would be, that kind of information is really key to our being able to make a very thoughtful, deliberate decision when it comes to what kind of buses we're going to be considering purchasing as we go forward. So,
I think that's
Thank
exactly
you.
right. We are putting together a schedule and a map of how we're going to reach a very, as you say, a sound decision in August on the type of buses that we buy. And the Finance Committee is going to take the lead on reviewing, kind of getting into the details of compressed natural gas, the electric bus program, our hybrid program that we currently have, and also looking at the cost-benefit analysis, and then that will come to the board, probably in maybe some more, maybe some at the workshop on May 6th and at other times.
You have a follow-up question?
I do have a follow-up question, and it's predicated mostly on the fact that I can hardly go to any of the board meetings that I serve on without hearing a new, updated, state-of-the-art presentation on autonomous vehicles, driverless cars, the new technologies that are being developed in very rapid speed, I might add. In a 5-month period, Commissioner Rice, you were at Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council when we heard this incredible story about how technology that was being worked on in September was just totally thrown off the radar in February because a new technology had been developed that so far surpassed what they'd been working on in September. So it causes me a bit of anxiety to think about making large purchases of buses for millions of dollars that we are going to have to work with for 15 years, just because 15 years from now, who knows what we're going to be, what the opportunities are going to be. So for the Planning and Finance Committee, Commissioner Barkley, I surely hope you'll keep your eye on that ball in terms of a real solid plan so that we don't get locked into antiquated equipment very, very quickly.
Did you want to
Yes.
respond to that before we go to Commissioner Welch?
Oh, well, I would like to make a quick comment on that. We are looking, we are attuned to those presentations that I think you've seen probably at multiple venues, and I think we're teed up to have maybe a similar kind of presentation at your May 6th workshop. We're working on that. I wish Cassandra was here today, if she's not, but we are actually working to test some autonomous vehicle technology with our Central Avenue Bus Rapid Transit project. There is some technology that the state DOT is looking into that we're working with them, hopefully to get some funding for, that essentially the Bus Rapid Transit, since it has stops that will be more like stations, this technology provides for what they call automatic docking, where, not that our great workforce up there is not outstanding at pulling up to a bus stops perfectly, but this technology aids the operator in that way, so it moves into the station at exactly the same spot every single time. It's pretty interesting, innovative stuff. But the DOT wants public transit systems like ours to be sort of the guinea pig for some of these new technologies as they roll out.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Welch?
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 questions. First, on the technology issue, Brad, didn't we talk about having some kind of a venue to talk about new technology? And I can't remember where you wanted to wrap that in. I think it was Commissioner Long's recommendation.
Yeah, we're sort of looking at this workshop as the start of that discussion, have a technology component to it. Like I said, I'm hoping to get a speaker that will kind of lay out all these different technologies and public transit's future role as we see them. The bus discussion on the specific options that we're looking at, maybe have some discussion at that meeting, but the Finance Committee probably is where we're going to have some more detailed discussions nuts and bolts with the vendors and the different kind of propulsion technologies. But
So is that an ongoing assessment of emerging technologies? Do you
Yes.
plan to do that twice a year, quarterly?
Well, and I think the executive committee discussed that and thought maybe this would be a pattern that we would carry on from year to year, where we'd have sort of a workshop that was on technology or on regionalism or new things, not necessarily a strategic planning or workshop for the organization, but it's sort of how we fit into the greater picture, and then a fall strategic planning workshop. So yeah, I think that will be kind of the model.
Okay. Last question, Madam Chair. So the CNG discussion by Finance and Performance Management, is that just for the bus purchases for next year, for 2017? What's the goal of that presentation?
Well, the goal of that, plus similar presentations on sort of all the different technologies that are out there today, is to sort of show and present to the board pluses and minuses of each and the impacts of those long term. I mean,
for which bus purchase though? For next year's?
Specifically for next year, of course, but the decisions that we make on whatever technology do have longer term impacts, as Commissioner Long mentioned.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we'll go to board member comments. We'll start on this end of the dais with Commissioner Finger.
I echo what was said by many of my fellow colleagues here today, that it is great to see the shared collaboration regarding the labor agreement, and I'm happy to see that that was done over many, I'm sure, tough sessions, but I do appreciate to see that collaboration, and I'm glad that we were able to get to that point. So.
Well, same here. I just wanted to comment on how different the atmosphere is in this room than it was a year ago, and appreciate everybody's hard work on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to echo that, having gone through union contract negotiations with firefighters, and it's always tough, and there are three sides, and hopefully you come together in the middle somewhere. So congratulations to everybody on all sides that worked on that, and the employees, more importantly.
Thank you.
I would just like to congratulate not only James Bradford, but also the folks at SEIU for coming together and delivering a really important benefit to both the union members and also to PSTA, because it will give us continuity, it will give us an enthusiastic workforce, and it will give us financial stability as a result of that. Also, I would like to congratulate Brad on the performance evaluation. That issue is now resolved, hopefully, and we can move forward. And finally, I would just like to say that we will continue to work in other contractual areas, such as what we did with Walmart and the contract issue involving concrete. We will continue to do everything possible to be proactive and move forward with all the different financial issues facing PSTA as time goes on. So congratulations to everybody that was involved in all those issues.
I can't say better what everyone else has already said. What a great board we have, great working together. Look forward to this coming year. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. We're going to make new things happen. Thanks.
What Patty said.
Commissioner Johnson.
What Patty and Ken said, but I have two other things to add. One, we heard Elaine Mann talk about the track presentation, the day in the life of drivers. That was a fascinating presentation, and I would suggest that the board consider inviting them to come and give maybe a little bit briefer presentation it was an insight that I hadn't had before, and I know the track appreciated it. The second comment that I would make is we are continuing in Clearwater to utilize a combination of the ferry, private ferry company, and the Jolly Trolley to try to do some innovative beach to the mainland, which is consistent with the NPO's focus area. That is working fairly well, and I believe that the PSTA video on Friday may have a highlight, including that. But it's an example of working together with the various community resources. And again, I thank the board for working together so well. This is a huge board, 15 members, and we're making good progress as a board. Our governance process is good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Vice Chair?
I wanted to say something similar to Bill in how we're all working together and the governance of our board now. Not only have we worked through the labor issues, as Commissioner Gerard mentioned, we're so different this year than we were this time last year. I would say the same for our board, and I would also say the same for our relationship with Brad. And in all three fronts, all of that is exponentially improved. So to get 15 people to be able to do that is really impressive, and I'm, very happy about the direction that we're going.
Well, not to be redundant, but I would like to echo everything that Commissioner Boljowski, Mayor Boljowski just said, and also to lend my voice to the request that Councilor Johnson made with regard to having the bus driver's presentation made to us. At the last Tiger Bay luncheon, I walked out with a bus driver who kept me quite entertained for about 10 minutes telling me stories, and it reminded me that our drivers are really the backbone of our entire organization, and we don't often have an opportunity to interact with them or hear what they have to say. And I do think it might be a nice idea if once a month, we have our board meetings once a month, wouldn't it be lovely to highlight one of our bus drivers each month and have them come and just tell us a little bit about what their day is like? We started doing that on the county commission a little while ago, and actually giving a little certificate or some kind of recognition to our employees in the various and sundry departments who have done something outstanding between one meeting and the next. And I just really think it's a lovely way to say thank you so much, we appreciate what you're doing. And then just secondly, if I might, because I'm so excited that we're not in the weeds anymore and we're really moving our meetings along. I'm surprised that no one mentioned the gondola project that seems to be getting lots of legs from downtown Clearwater out to Clearwater Beach. Last week I went to a transportation committee of the Public Policy Council at the St. Pete Chamber and listened to the entire presentation. I really, really appreciate it, Brad and the Chair, if you could invite those folks to come make a presentation to us. It is another tool in our toolbox for how we move our citizens around. And I'm very excited and happy to share that the State Department of Transportation is very high on this project as an alternative means of moving people quickly. From downtown Clearwater out to Clearwater Beach, you can move 6,000 to 7,000 people an hour.
Wow.
That's a lot of folks. That could also be a tourist attraction because it's so futuristic and transformational. So I look forward to learning more about that and how we may be able to partner with them to make some real substantive changes on public transportation options in not only our county, but our region. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Dayton.
Yes, I'd just like to commend everybody on the labor agreement. I think that was terrific. Congratulations to Brad on his performance, and also to Commissioner Zimmett and for getting the agreement done with the Largo people. Thank you.
Everything Mark said.
Commissioner Diamond.
Well, this is a great meeting. I share everybody's feelings about, positive feelings about the direction that we're headed, and the focus on the partnerships and the innovation, I think, is really beginning to bear fruit. I'm looking forward to our board workshop in May, and I just wanted to pick up on what Commissioner Long and Commissioner Welch said. I think that there's an opportunity when we get together as a board in a less structured setting to really explore some of these ideas about other ways we can be innovative as an agency, whether it's the use of ferries, like Commissioner Johnson was talking about in Clearwater, this cable-propelled technology, gondola idea. I heard the same presentation that Commissioner Long heard. But I think it's worth us taking some time in the workshop to really learn more about those ideas and explore them. We heard already the positive feedback we're getting for our partnership with Uber and our willingness to try new things. And I think we need to continue that spirit moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say that I am enjoying being on this board as the newest member, and the communication, Brad, that comes from PSTA, from the numerous emails and everything, I really enjoy. It's a lot of reading, but I'm up for it. So I look forward to working with everyone for the next year. And if you have not had the opportunity to make a video with Brad, I suggest you take up that opportunity. It only took us one take, and I'm going to brag because my video still has the most hits.
The challenge is out.
The challenge is out now.
Yeah, there goes the kumbaya. Lastly, I just want to say I'm so thankful for you, my colleagues, the PSTA board, our staff, our employees, our awesome CEO. I'm thankful for meetings like these where we get a chance to really reflect on and kind of bask in some positive accomplishments, because we know that with transit issues and the work we do, it's often par for the course that we deal with conflict. We have to make difficult decisions. We have to sort through a lot of complexities. So I'm grateful for meetings like this where we get to kind of do a victory lap on a lot of issues that originally started out as conflicts, and now we're able to report out on a positive way forward. So I thank you for that. And with that, before we adjourn, just a reminder, we have a press conference at 11:15.
I think we might try to move that to
Are we going
11.
to
Start it early, that would be
Okay, great.
We're gonna
We'll
try
bump it up. So if we could stick around for a few minutes for that, that would be great. And with that, we adjourn this meeting. Thank you.